Now let's take a look at how to use Python. Python is the numerical software used to do computing. In order to use Python, we need what is called an IDE. An IDE is an integrated development environment. And in this case, the IDE that we can use are the following. IDLE. IDLE is the Python. Python has its own IDE. So this was built by the same company that developed, by the same set of persons that developed Python. You can also use PyCharm, okay, which was the one that we installed and the one that was shown in the YouTube video. But there are other IDEs that you can also use. Now, some of these IDEs have been collected together by a small group of people or a company who formed what is called the Anaconda. The Anaconda is a distribution platform. Okay? What they do is they collect all the brands and disseminate these brands to large and targeted audiences. It doesn't matter what these brands are. It can be a travel agency or any type of market platform. In this case, Anaconda is the content distributor for IDEs. IDEs can not only be used in Python but also in other types of programming software. So if you haven't installed Anaconda yet, please do so. I have already uploaded instructions in Kakao. So now let's open Anaconda. Okay, so while we are waiting for Anaconda to open, okay, now that Anaconda is open, we see the different IDEs, different products that the Anaconda is distributing. And you see that there's also PyCharm and Jupyter. These are all IDEs that can be used for Python. Here we have also the IPY, but what we're going to use is what's called the Spider. Okay, now before we go to Spider, let's try to use PyCharm first. So I'm going to launch PyCharm. Okay, now once PyCharm has been installed or has been launched, okay, you will see what the environment for PyCharm IDE looks like. Okay, so we have here the Python file. Okay, this is the same. In MATLAB, we saw an editor, and this is the same. This file here is the same as the MATLAB editor. Okay, now this file is saved under a project called test01, which I made prior to opening this program. Okay, now you can see down below the small menu, the todo, to do, the problems, terminal, and the Python console. And up there, or up in the window, you see the PyCharm, and then different menu options. Okay, so now in order to run this Python script or Python program, we can go take a look at this green play button in the upper right corner and press play or press run. Okay, if we do that, okay, it will run the code that is written here. The code that's written here is designed to also to create a sine function um, and plot that sine function. Here is the sine function that was generated using this Python code. Okay, now after running the Python code, you see that a new tab has been opened here. Okay, this tab monitors the program that you have run. Now, if there are problems with the way you ran the program, it will show up here in this tab. So there's just a few problems here, but these are just warnings, and we'll talk about them later. In the terminal, this is a Unix terminal, and if you're familiar with Unix, this is something that you can also use. But we won't be using much of these in this course. And there's also a Python console, and this Python console is very similar to the command console in MATLAB. Okay, so here we have the graph, and here's the menu for the graph, and not much can be seen with this graph. So you see with the PyCharm, the interface is not as user-friendly as MATLAB, which is why we're opting to use a different IDE for Python. Okay, the IDE that we're going to use now is called a SPIDER. So SPIDER stands for Scientific Python Development Environment. This is an IDE that's specifically used for scientific computing. So let's try to launch this IDE and see what it looks like. Okay, now we have this IDE. So let me just erase this. Okay, and then now we have this interface for the SPIDER IDE. Okay, we have practically the same program here, and this program also plots the sine function. So this, compared to MATLAB, this is your editor. Okay, and here we have these help button, the variable explorer button, the plots button, and the files button. So in MATLAB, this is similar to the folders button. In MATLAB, there's also a figure button, but it only appears once the figure has been generated. The help in MATLAB you can get from the search documentation in the upper right panel. And the variable explorer is where you can see all your variables and take note of what is happening. So you can see that this user interface is very much similar to MATLAB, which is maybe much better and much friendly to use for our purposes. So now let's try to run this simple code. Okay, and now after running this code, you can see that the variable explorer generated all of these variables. It tells you the type of the variable, the size of the variable, and the values that are saved in the variable. In order to see the plot generated, we have this function, or we have this graph. Okay, not much can be seen in the menu, but we're also going to explore how we can improve this figure later on as we are progressing with the course.